Hello, and thank you for viewing my presentation, The Role of Farming Families in Future Economic and Community Sustainability. My name is Conor McShane and I'm from James Cook University in Townsville, Australia. This research was conducted in fulfilment of my degree of Doctorate of Philosophy. I'd like to acknowledge my supervisors for this project, Associate Professor Francis Quirk and Dr. Anne Swinburne. Today I'm going to discuss the current state of farming families in Australia and how the challenges which farming families face may subsequently impact the sustainability of the farming industry and rural communities. First, let's consider what the farming family population looks like in Australia. Well, over the past 25 years there's been a steady decrease in the number of farming families, and this has been complemented by a rural-urban population shift, particularly evident in young people. So young people aren't entering into the farming business and are moving away from rural areas, and this may be contributing to an aging farming population with a median age of about 52 years. Over 50% of farmers earn less than $1,200 per week, 85% of farmers are self-employed, and about 60% of farmers work more than 49 hours per week. So what does this suggest? Well, it may suggest that rural communities are in crisis. With the reduction in the number of farming families, population shift and low income bracket suggests that rural communities are suffering economically, and other research has identified that the majority of rural population in Australia currently falls into low socioeconomic bracket. The ageing population and fewer young people entering the farm business may contribute to an increased risk of injury and health problems in the farming workforce. And this is also supported by research by Morton, who reported a high rate of injury and accidents in older farmers. Also, baby boomer population is moving into retirement, so this may indicate a potential for shortage of farmers in the future. So these future challenges to the farming industry will have a significant impact on rural community and economic viability, as the farming industry is a leading source of rural economic stimulation, for example through job creation and cash flow. With these challenges in mind, what are some methods by which we can improve the sustainability of farming families in rural communities? Well, one avenue that we can look at is increasing capital, as suggested by Cochrane and Alston. Capital can be natural resources or produced goods, infrastructure. It can also be from the public sector, private sector, so institutional capital. So looking at availability of services, health services, educational services. So these are certain types of capital that can be focused on to help improve sustainability. But what we're going to focus on is human and social capital. And human capital looks at what sort of knowledge and skills that individuals have that we can increase, mental and physical health as well. And there's a new research focus particularly on mental capital. Social capital is related to Community-Connectedness, for example. So it's all about levels of trust, shared vision and purpose in communities and connecting individuals with others. So getting networks established. So in order to target social and human capital, we need to consider the health status of the farming family population. It's generally thought in Australia that rural populations have a poorer health status than their urban counterparts. In relation to farming specifically, male farmers have a higher rate of suicide, approximately twice that of the national average for males in Australia. There are higher reports of injury and accidents for the farming population, and rural people are more likely to be overweight, drink more alcohol and report higher levels of psychological distress. Being overweight and drinking more alcohol also may be reflective of poor coping behaviours. So, we want to improve rural and farming sustainability, which can be done through targeting mental and physical health and social health. This leads to the following questions. What factors negatively impact on farming family well-being? What factors protect farming family well-being, and how can we use this information to improve well-being, stabilise the decline in the number of farming families, and contribute to rural community sustainability. To address these questions, I'm going to report data from one of the studies conducted in my PhD, which aim to identify the determinants of farming family well-being, with a focus on the impact of the on the working environment. This is the focus is farm and work and family are two domains which are closely interlinked and integrated, which can be seen, for example, through the first slide where I demonstrated farmers work around 50 hours per week. And so this close link of the two domains presents an increased opportunity for conflict and tension within the work and home environments. So the current research had 278 participants with a mean age of 49 years. Most were from Queensland, New South Wales or Victoria, and identified as broadacre farmers, horticultural farmers, beef farmers or sheep farmers. The predominant business structure was a family business with unpaid family employees. So we're looking at determinants of well-being, which in this study was operationalised as levels of psychological distress, life satisfaction, work burnout, and other measures included to assess the impact on well-being with the work-family conflict scales by Colson, Kackmeyer and William, as well as 5 farming family-specific measures which were developed throughout the course of my PhD research. And these were centering on stresses, role interference, intergenerational impact, which looks at adaptive characteristics of the intergenerational working environment, coping characteristics, and buffering factors. So the buffer scale was about farming family protective factors, for example, commitment to family, positive lifestyle factors, and farming as part of self-identity. So what were some of the effects found? The items in this scale presented strong correlations to measures of well-being. As you can see, finances, relationships and family were the leading negative themes, whilst being positive, enjoying farming and commitment to family presented strong positive relationships to well-being. These factors suggested that farming was more than just a job, it was a lifestyle. It's about farming, it's about a part of who you are, and started to emphasise how integrated the two domains were and the significant relationship between the work environment and well-being. These relationships between positive and negative factors with well-being can be further demonstrated through this model. This model was generated using path analysis, and as you can see, stresses, farm and family stresses that is, and farm-family role interference were the leading contributors to poor well-being, particularly low life satisfaction, high psychological distress, and high cynicism and emotional exhaustion, which were components of burnout. However, these factors were mediated and moderated by positive coping behaviours, and particularly the farming family buffering characteristics. Therefore, the buffering characteristics of family commitment, lifestyle factors, and identity with farming are potential resilience-building factors and may be important in the protection of well-being. Cluster analysis was also conducted to identify those specific factors which contributed to a high risk of psychological distress. These factors centre on the impact of the working environment and family satisfaction on well-being. So the particular factors identified, as you can see, are role inhibitors, family concerns, strain conflict, which is a component of the work-family conflict scales and is about how the strain of completing some roles interferes with the completion of other roles, and emotional exhaustion, which is a component of work burnout. These factors contribute to the idea that farming is a high-stress industry, and as a result, the work environment should be targeted for improving health outcomes. So what should an adaptive and healthy farming family work environment look like? The items here on this slide were from the intergenerational farming impact scale, And what was generated was that being committed to the farming family, having open and honest communication, having equality in decision making, having trust amongst each other, whilst not having one family centrally manage the business or differences in workloads, was associated with higher life satisfaction and lower levels of psychological distress and emotional exhaustion. And this is therefore a profile for an adaptive working environment. Overall, this data supports the notion that a sustainable family is a healthy family. So families are more likely to be healthy if there's low role interference, there's an adaptive working environment, there's work-family balance, and really those buffering characteristics of high commitment, connection, identification, and enjoyment of farming. These factors may help build resilience against the uncontrollable and unpredictable stresses and characteristics of the farming lifestyle. So what sorts of things can be done to achieve a more sustainable future? I have here a number of suggestions, for example, food security and food sovereignty, which is about ensuring that a country has the capabilities to feed, enough food production to feed its population, and it's also locally produced food sustainability. So this may improve sustainable future outcomes as it can increase market competition, reduce the cost profit margin and more fair income for farmers, and then may make the future farming industry more secure because it's seen as a viable career option. Another suggestion is the business skill workshops for intergenerational families. The reduction in the number of farming families may also be contributed by family relationship breakdown as a result of running an intergenerational family business and not understanding the importance of work-family balance. So workshops which educate farming families on those maladaptive characteristics of a farming family work environment and emphasising the importance of those protective buffering characteristics, for example, the importance of being committed and trusting with family members, may help reduce that or stabilise that decline. Farming apprenticeships, this would need heavy government involvement but can encourage new entrants into the industry and increase the value of farming. Business skill workshops and farming apprenticeships may help increase capital through the reduction of stress and risk of injury, and that's in association with the human and mental capital through improved health and well-being and increased skills and understanding. So these factors may subsequently contribute to social networks and connectedness and therefore boosting rural population and increasing social capital. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. If you have any questions or would like to contact me, please use my email address below. Thank you very much.